Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. So happy to have you with me this evening. A little bit past 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast on a Sunday. Why the heck am I doing this Sunday? Because I missed so many days last week with my work I had to do and my minor injury that I had to handle. But those are all done now. So now I am back and I'm here. And there were so many things I wanted to talk about. And I threw a bunch of them out these last couple of days. I wanted to do an AMA, but there was still more I wanted to talk about. So I wanted to grab a couple pieces in. There's a little bit of I told you so. Man, do I like doing that. You can see that. I like to, I told you so stuff. And there's a little bit of that, but not that much, but a little bit. I want to cover the idea that people have been talking about a lot in the last several years, but surely this last 2 years for sure, more than ever. And that is the idea of, I don't know, it's the first couple minutes of the YouTube video. They might get mad if I say the word, but the word that is it's not slow but fast, and then there's an ism at the end of it. I'll wait till after a couple minutes and then maybe I'll be able to say it again. But it's literally in the title of this one. So yes, the idea of the 21st century version of that now popping up both in America and of course also in Germany, in Deutschland. So of course that's what people are talking about. And I wanted to bring something up. A lot of you asked me, a couple of you asked me last time, the idea of the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland party, which is the far right party in Germany, and how some people were like, oh, they're going to do so well. And I said, they won't. I said that they'll do well relatively. I said, but they won't get more than 20, maybe 25%, probably about 20%, maybe 25, right? Okay. So question is, so far, am I right? And of course, yes, those of you who asked me, I know some of you did. So hold on, let me get this right if I could right now. I will show you my screen. And there it is. You can see it right there. If you can look at it, if you can see it or not. But right here, you see the CDU, which is believe it or not, the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party in Germany got about 28, 29%. The AfD, which is the far right party, not the Conservative Party, about 20%, 20.7%. And then the SPD, which is kind of like they're Democrats, kind of like that, right? They've been in charge for a long time, right? So that's 16%. And then the Grüne, or the Green Party, got 11%. And Die Linke came out of nowhere, which is literally the lefties. That's what Die Linke is, the left. The lefties came out of nowhere. You might say, well, this doesn't make any sense. How can the AfD, which is basically the far right, Die Linke and Grün, which is the far left, how can they do so well, right? When you have the regular in Germany, the regular conservative CDU and the regular progressive or Democrats, the SPD. I mean, again, this is German, so not the same. I'm being close to what America is, but it's a little different. It is another country. But how could they do well at all? Because in Germany and in America, people want change. They want change. That's the issue. More than anything, they want change. But they're not ready to go full on AfD. And I knew they weren't. I know my Germans well enough to know they were not prepared to go full AfD. They didn't. In fact, they, instead of going AfD, they went Die Linke, they went to the left. They went left instead. And even though the AfD is, as you can see there by the blue here, they are the number 2 party right now in Germany, they will not be part of the government because no one will work with them. They will not work with them at all. Sorry, Alice Weidel, no one's going to work with you. That's how it works. So they will not work with them at all. So anyway, make sure that was clear. That's how that works, all right? That's the issue. That's what you see happening. You saw happening in Germany. Why did I bring this up? Because some people were asking about this, right? Now, Vivek brings up when he says, what do AfD, Javier Milei, and Donald Trump all have in common that Elon likes all three? I've also heard AfD being called milquetoast libertarians. Is that accurate? No, they're not really, no. The AfD is not milquetoast libertarians. There is a libertarian party. Well, it's called the FDP. I forgot what it stands for, but it's based at the Libertarian Party, and they got their ass kicked. Surprise! The FDP was part of the government, but they fought against the SPD, right? Not the FDP. They fought against the FDP, the Free Democratic Party, I think is what it's called. That's the Libertarian Party equivalent in Germany. They fought against. They had a coalition with the equivalent of the Democrats, the SPD. They were like, you guys suck. We don't like you anymore because we don't want you to tax and everything. And they basically broke it off. And when they broke it off, people said, you guys aren't good. You guys are nothing. In fact, most people in Germany think the FDP is milquetoast. And they're libertarians. They would rather have the AfD, which is the far right, or the CDU, which is the, I guess, center right. I guess you would call it that maybe. Or even still the SPD still has 17%. And they're like the Democrats equivalent. So yes, I do think that's a funny piece. So no, the AfD is not milquetoast libertarians. If anything, the libertarians in Germany are the milquetoast libertarians. The AfD is far more hardcore, and they're not really libertarian. I mean, they have some minor libertarian concepts, but they're not really libertarian. They're much more nationalistic than anything else, much more that. And they're actually more pro-Russian and less pro-American than the other parties. The CDU is kind of pro-American-ish. The SPD has kind of not been because the SPD really wants to support Ukraine badly. So I think that's changed a bit. Anyway, I gave you all these issues. I hope that was clear. As I told you, when someone asked me this question a couple days ago, what do I think is going to be a great power in the future? It will not be my beloved Deutschland. Germany is on its way to stagnation. And this is proof of it. They're on the way to stagnation. China is on its way to stagnation. Germany is on its way to stagnation. Japan's already in stagnation, been there forever, and will still be there. Britain is actually worse than stagnation. Britain is actually collapsing. It's not. France is already in stagnation. Britain is on its way to collapse. America has a choice coming up here soon. It's got to decide if it's going to go to stagnation or not, or maybe even to collapse. But otherwise, it's going to fall. It has to do something. So I hope that was clear. I kind of talked a lot on that one, but anyway, let me keep going if I could. Mike Voss here, he says, in case I passed out before the show, globe is moving center right, closing borders, etc. This is good long-term, more stability and less terrorism. Left is terrified as they're losing power and have no answers. Well, I think part of that's correct. I think the left is terrified. And when I say left, again, I go center left. You said center right, center left. The center left is losing power and has no answers. The far left does have answers, not good ones, but they have answers, which is why you see Die Linke growing in Germany, the Green Party growing in Germany, while the center Democrats go down, right? Mainstream or center left is failing across the globe. That's accurate. Far left is not. That's why you see Die Linke and the Green Party grow. That's why you saw the only real, once RFK Jr. dropped out of the race in America here, the only person who had any chance of making any impact was actually the furthest left, which was Jill Stein, the Green Party. Now, she didn't, but she's the only one who had any chance of making any impact, maybe in Michigan. No one else had any chance at all. So the far left is actually still doing that. Now, you say most people less terrorism. That's not true. We have terrorism no matter what. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's center left or far left, whatever. There's terrorism all the time. And I know, Mike, you say this. A lot of Republicans say this. When there's strong leadership, there's not more terrorism. Absolutely not true. No data to prove that. That's just stuff people say. It's not true. Again, I'll say it all the time. When Reagan was president, the Marines got blown up. When Bush was president, 9/11 happened. The worst terrorism has happened when Republicans were president. So it's just not true. It's a thing people say and they like it. It's not true at all. Terrorists attack when they decide it's appropriate. They don't care. They don't care about the consequences. Clearly they don't. Look at what happened in Israel. You think they didn't know there was going to be terrible consequences? They didn't know. They didn't care. They attack when they decide they're going to attack. If it happens to be a Republican president, if it happens to be a Democratic president, they're going to change them. They're going to do what they do what they want to do. They're not looking at us. And the evidence is clear that's true. So I know you don't like that, Mike. I'm just telling you. There's no evidence what you just said. There's just none. That's just stuff that Republicans like to say to be strong. But you're right. They are closing borders. True. And I do think the left is terrified. It does have no answers. Here in America, too, the center left across the globe decided that it was just going to become establishment, and it actually pushed out the far left, the whole thing. So yeah, hope that was good. Daniel, thank you for the $5. How do you feel about Trump's plan to attack Mexican cartels? Just negotiations? Would this be another endless Afghan war consequences? I hope, and from what I saw, I haven't enough homework on this one. Actually, Mike might have done more homework on this one. Mike might know more about this than I would. Last I checked, the Mexican government is doing like a joint thing with America. If the Mexican government is a joint thing, some type of whatever the thing is going to be called, it won't be called a war, it'll be called something else. But whatever this operation or activities, whatever you're going to call it, if the Mexican government is on board, I don't think it'll be that bad. Look, I don't like it at all, obviously, but I have to be realistic. It's something like this is probably going to happen one way or the other. If they're not on board, it's going to be a big problem. The consequences will be terrible. I don't think, and I hope, and I don't think that Trump actually would just go, I don't care what the Mexicans think. I'm bombing cartels. If he does that, this would be terrible. I hope he's just negotiating. So far, and I'm going to just give credit where credit is due, so far, Trump has done a good job of, I'm going to invade Panama. Oh, I got a deal? Okay. I'm going to invade Greenland. Oh, I got a deal? Good. I hope he's doing, I'm going to go bomb cartels. Oh, I got a deal? Good. I'm hoping he's just negotiating because, Daniel, your concern about consequences, they would be terrible if he would just do it. I don't think he will. I hope it. I don't think it either. So I hope that answers your question. So, all righty. Let me grab some of these. Phil says, schnell, schnell, finden the like button. Yes, I like that one. That is a good one. You should quickly find the like button. That's correct. He is correct. Find the button known as like, the button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. Yes, please do so. Jetzt, which means now. Jetzt. Please do so now. Yes. He is correct. And if you haven't already reposted this, please repost this. If you haven't, wherever you might do it, please subscribe if you have not subscribed on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook, X, and Rumble. It does matter. When you do subscribe, make sure you click all notifications. You can always super chat me as you just saw someone do right now. Members, I try to grab them. Phil, you can see he's a member. He has that little thing next to him, showing him that he's a member. $4.99 per month. Click that join button to be that. Or you can become a member on Rumble if you like. Also, click that subscribe button only during the live. So yeah, I did want to bring that piece up. I just thought it was kind of interesting about how it's going in Germany. But I'm going to cover something here too with that same idea. That was kind of interesting. Joel over on Rumble says, this age of self-censoring ourselves is a sad thing. Yes, you are correct. I have to censor myself on YouTube. Yes, because they're basically a monopoly and will devastate me if I don't. We have overlords. Yes, we have overlords. So he goes on to say, I watch a couple of English-speaking YouTube channels from Germany. They are not happy with the government or the economy. Yes, Germans are not happy. And I mean by droves. Like 75% or more of Germans feel unhappy or I made the number up, but I'm saying it's that high. It's a very high number. If you check all of the polling done, there's not a poll where less than 50% of Germans are unhappy. It's always more than 50%. I saw one was like 82% or something like that. So it's very high. Germans are not happy at all. This is why the far left and the far right grow, because the center proves it can't do the job. The SPD was, I mean, that's Angela Merkel. That's her party. She was in charge for what, 18 years, something like that? 15 years? Whatever. She was in charge for many years. I think 18, but whatever. For many, many years, she was in charge. This was her party. They were running Germany for a long time. For a long time. Not no more. Not no more. Absolutely. Not no more. I really think that that there's been a big change there. So, all right. I appreciate that. If I could, I do want to show you one thing which I wanted to show you last week. But I just didn't have time and I couldn't do it, but I want to bring it up now. And that is the way we're talking about fascism. I'm going to say it now. It's been 15 minutes into the show. Hopefully it'll be okay. And how we use that word for everything. And everybody's a fascist, and it almost has no meaning anymore. A guy named Tom Slater was in Cambridge Union, and he was talking about us as Americans, saying that basically Trump is a fascist. And he did a little speech. And I want to show you that. Some of you might have seen this. We're going all around. It's about a week old. I wanted to do it earlier, but I wanted to show you and kind of chat about it real fast if I could, because it's an important piece. Again, whether you support Trump or not, it doesn't matter. I think you should, this is something that we should be concerned about.
The Knights, which is from Tom Slater. Order, please. Tom Slater is the editor of Spiked. He also writes regularly for The Spectator and The Telegraph, covering free speech, populism, and the culture war. Tom, you have the ears of the House.
Thank you very much. So I gather there are a lot of Trump fans in. So
they did not like Trump at all.
No, I'm not here to defend Donald Trump, necessarily. I'm here, though, to defend the meaning of words, historical memory, and why that's important. And with that in mind, I just want to mention three.
This part really bothers me, because when this goes back to how I joke all the time, that anytime something goes bad or wrong, or someone I don't like, I immediately go to, he's Hitler. And again, this wasn't just Trump. If you remember back when Obama was around, they used to have those pictures with Obama with the Hitler mustache. You remember that? Yes, that was a Tea Party. Tea Party was calling everybody Hitler. Yes, it means nobody's Hitler. It means that now the actual Nazis, they're like whatevs, because we spend so much time doing this for calling everybody else
in
this.
Sequence. Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler, Donald Trump. It'll do.
Now hear that. There are some people who think no difference.
Der Führer, the Donald. The Romans salute, the Sieg Heil, the YMCA dance. The comparison is so absurd it practically debunks itself. Anyone who genuinely thinks that Trump's America, whatever else you might think about the man or his policies, can be mentioned in the same breath as fascist Italy or Nazi Germany needs to get a grip. It doesn't matter that you put 21st century before it. You are putting them in the same conversation. Let's be very clear what it is that we're talking about here. Fascism, and especially its Nazi form, was an evil the like of which the world had never seen, and thankfully hasn't seen since. Totalitarian control, messianic dictatorship, a cult of racial superiority, paramilitaries crushing the left at home, a Darwinian militaristic struggle abroad, the worship of war and violence, the mechanized attempt, let's not forget, to murder all of Europeans' Jews. If that sounds like America in 2025 to you, then I suggest you leave here and have a nice long lie down.
Now I know that woman immediately yells. You hear she yells because she cannot imagine. During this, there is a woman who will not stop talking. She just keeps popping up. Why? Because she is so triggered that you will not call him Hitler. There is no difference in her mind. What he just said, she basically says, well, yeah, because we're 2 minutes away from it. We're 2 minutes away from making camps and putting the Jews in them. No, we're not. That's not it. That's not a thing. And if anybody actually thought that, and I want to be clear on this, if the Democrats, who are the ones who said this, and some others too, if any of those people honestly thought that we were 2 minutes from building camps, if we were 5 minutes from invading Poland or Canada or whatever, if they actually believed that, why in the world would they want a peaceful transition? It's a serious question. If I was a Democrat and I honestly believed that Trump was Hitler, if I believed that, and he won the election, I'm not making a peaceful transfer. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I would not do that. I would hope you wouldn't either. But according to the Democrats, basically, he gets like, okay, great. Who's got the hammer? We got to start building the camps now? Yeah, okay, building camps. All right. And what country are we invading first? Well, why? Well, he won the election, so I guess we do that. That's insane. So it's not true. But this, I got to go back because you got to hear her because she will actually just get upset.
Down in a second. Trump,
he has to
I'm silencing all dissent tonight. Trump is many things. He's a right-wing populist. He's an opponent of illegal and mass migration. He's a bit of a culture warrior. He can be quite thin-skinned and conspiratorial. What a lot.
All true. Trump's an ass. I say it. It's true. That doesn't make him Hitler. That just makes him a jerk. And even people who support Trump say he's a jerk. That's not like, I'm not like talking out of turn here.
Americans would call a blowhard, but try as I might, I am struggling to see the extermination camps or the goose-stepping gunmen killing with impunity, and I don't think my colleagues on the other side have helped me with that.
She again has to interrupt. She cannot. She's like, no, she's so triggered.
Second, I almost feel sorry for the speakers on the proposition, and actually many on the floor. It must be exhausting, petrifying even, to see fascism everywhere.
We could have got it back laughing.
To see everyone who disagrees with you about immigration or gender as literally Hitler. I'm amazed any of you can sleep at night. The reason I think you can sleep at night, the reason that you're here arguing the toss with us rather than joining some anti-fascist militia in the Midwest somewhere, is I think deep down people know that this comparison is ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, I implore you.
Okay, no, he's wrong on this one. The leadership, they know it's BS, or they wouldn't let it happen. They know it's BS. But there's a lot of people in America who believe this, who really think that's it. We're ready. It's the end. We're just, I got to move to Canada, whatever, right? There's people who honestly believe that. They are. Or how do you sleep? They don't. That's why they're all on drugs. I'm not joking when I say that. If you ask people, this is true. Do your own homework if you think I'm making this up. After the election, there was a surge in people who had to go to therapists because they honestly thought America was over. So people were going to psychiatrists to get prescription drugs. I wish I was joking. You don't know how much I wish I was joking. So he's actually wrong on this one. There's far too many Americans who are really like, oh my God, we now have Hitler. Like they bought it. Now, a lot of them are figuring this out and they're kind of like, wait a minute. I don't see any trains coming. I don't see any camps being built. We haven't actually invaded Canada yet. Maybe. I think some of them are starting to get that. Some of them are. Some are still scared. But to be forward, all of the liars in the establishment always knew they were lying. They always knew it was BS. But they said it again and again and again. Why? Because they wanted to scare you into voting for them without them having to have any actual policies to fix anything. Something else. This is for the Democrats specifically. And if you're on the left and you're watching or listening, you know I'm right here. The Democratic Party, the establishment, did not want to acknowledge the left wing of the party. Now, if you're on the right, you're like, what? They're all crazy lefties. I know if you're right wing, you think that's true. It's not. The Democrats are not actually left. They are, I don't know, center establishment, whatever they are. They're not actually left. They talk a bit of left. They do. They talk the talk. And to be forward, Democratic rhetoric is often very good. It often sounds nice and inclusive. It sounds amazing. It doesn't do anything and there's no policy behind it, but it often does sound very nice. So people on the right who aren't Democrats go, see, they're all lefties. People on the left go, these guys aren't lefties. And Democrats want to ignore the left wing of their party. So instead of them actually trying to have left-wing policies, instead, they use fear-mongering and say everybody's Hitler. And then you see it work. You saw people like Vosh, who is a hardcore lefty, go, we got to vote for Harris. He fell for it. Vosh is no dummy, but he fell for it. Right? A lot of people fell for it. Ole fell for it. You guys know who she is. Olemi. She fell for it. Same thing. Got to vote for Harris. Destiny, hardcore lefty. Got to vote for Harris. They all fell for it. That was the goal. And it worked in that regard for them. The sad part is it didn't work enough. It didn't work enough. And the Democrats lost it all. And now we have Trump. Now, if you're a Republican, awesome for you. If you're a Democrat, sorry. But this is what's happened. And I warned you of this. And Democrats don't listen. What are you going to do?
To look at what the Trump is Hitler set do rather than what they say. Look at America. The Democrats have spent months years saying that Trump was literally a Nazi in a spray tan, right? He was an existential threat to the American.
And that's what they use. Existential threat, a literal Nazi, all those things. Vivek goes Destiny center left. Now he is, Vivek. But if you listen to him before, he wasn't. He used to be far left. You're right. He has become center left, but he wasn't.
Republic. And then he won again. And then with the election over, the scare stories were no longer useful. The Democrats, they didn't rush to the barricades. They showed up and made sour faces at the inauguration. I don't know about you, if I really thought a new fascist era was beginning, I wouldn't have done that. By the same token, nope, for all of time.
Again, someone tries to keep cutting him off because they're so triggered. This is a problem. If you lean left or you're a Democrat right now, I would ask you, please take the time to stop being triggered, to stop insulting, to get together with your left people and come up with some serious policies. Or this is going to happen again and again and again. This is going to happen again and again and again.
Tantrums after the 2020 election. Of course, we should talk about that. That shameful spreading of conspiracy theories about the presidency being stolen from him, and that dumb, senseless riot that was January the 6th. He did step down. The peaceful transfer of power did happen. That's something that doesn't tend to happen under fascist regimes. And I think it's also important that we deal with a subtext of this whole fascism debate. There is this idea that fascism is a product of an excess of democracy. You know, countries can't be too democratic, otherwise they will become fascistic.
Think about that concept. Think about that concept. I can't make you free because if I let you be free, you'll become fascist. That's what he's saying. I can't make you free because if I do, then you'll become fascist.
That is a myth that really needs to die. Mussolini, Hitler, these were not people who ever won a majority in a free and fair election. They were in.
So this part, most people don't know, right? So he has to say this. There are two parts that matter. When it comes to Mussolini and Hitler, neither of them won majorities ever. That wasn't the thing. Neither did Tojo in Japan. None of them won the majority in the election. That's not what happened, which is why I told you the only way Germany becomes fascistic is if the AfD gets 50% or more. And some people are like, that'll never happen. Correct. If that ever does happen, maybe it will happen one day. If it happens, Europe will be changed for, I don't know how much, for decades, if that ever does happen. Because that would mean Germany's actually going fascistic as a population. And that hasn't happened in the past. Only 30% of people, when Hitler took over, were members of voters, were members of the Nazi Party. Only 30%. And look what happened. Imagine if 50% were. Imagine if 50% were. So, So that's what happened, right? So that it wasn't like Hitler and Mussolini and any of those, Tito in Yugoslavia, Franco in Spain. None of them believed in free speech. They all believed in censorship.
Invited in to power by desiccated elites because they feared working class leftist revolution.
Did you hear what he just said? They were invited in because they feared working class leftist revolutions. Yes. When the elites fear the people, they will put anybody in if they have to. Yes. Yes.
So this anti-democratic subtext, which is something I'll come back to, is something we need to deal with. You can absolutely say that Trump is illiberal, that he's want to fly off the handle over words that hurt him or democratic votes that do not go his way.
Accurate.
But that does not make him a fascist. If he was in the UK,
also accurate.
That would make him a Guardian columnist. Or maybe a member of the Green Party, you know, the sort of people who've been going around in recent years taking ostentatious offence to various things people say and demanding a second Brexit referendum, another popular cause in this room, I'm sure, because they wanted us to get the right answer next time. So we'll take no lectures about rejecting democracy from the anti-Brexit set.
All right, I'm going to take, you guys are giving a lot of comments. I'm going to grab some comments and I'll head back to this. But I just think this is a good thing to start. So I will grab some comments. Let me grab Sarah. Thank you for the 99. She says avian flu is the new C virus. It's also yet another attack on big ag by big ag on small farms, following and adding to raw milk hysteria and meat processing laws limiting farms. What can we do? Yes, yes, and yes. Everything you just said is 100% true, Sarah. Yes, it's off topic, but it's an AMA, and I will still take it because I do say ask me anything. A couple pieces. The avian flu is causing so many, is forcing so many farmers to kill their chickens. You might go, well, Larry, isn't that a good thing? No, that's insanely stupid. For many reasons. Why are you killing the healthy chickens? It's insanely dumb, but it's what we're doing because government says so, so we do so. You might go, well, Larry, it's still good because then you get rid of whatever, so and so. No. Who can take, what kind of company can, to Sarah's point, can survive losing a whole bunch of chickens? Big companies. Small companies are devastated. Small farms devastated. Sarah's correct. So for safety, we are yet again going to destroy small businesses. Small farms, yet again, she is correct. Oh, because I'm scared of it, whatever, flu. It's a flu. It's a virus. There's always going to be a flu. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean. And Sarah knows I'm talking. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm being realistic. So let's slaughter millions of animals. Let's raise the price of chicken. Let's raise the price of eggs. Let's raise the price of basic food that we have to eat because we're scared there might be a virus. Now, for those of you who go, but Larry, when the big virus came before and we had the lockdowns, a whole lot of Americans died. True. That's an accurate statement. And if you look at the people who died, the vast majority were people who were over 65 and who had more than one comorbidity. That's true. If you don't like that, you're making it up. That's the vast majority of people who died were in that age range and had that situation. The amount of healthy children who passed away from the C virus, 0. Let me say it again. In America, you cannot find me one child, healthy child. There were kids who had 2 or 3 morbidities did pass. That's true. But healthy children who did not have 2 or 3 comorbidities, 0. Not one. So you want to destroy small farms. You want to destroy our food. We already have a food shortage. Mike's been talking about that for years. We already have food. So we're going to make things totally worse, make inflation worse, because maybe a bunch of people over 65, and not even a majority, many will, over 65, who have multiple comorbidities, to be very fair. If you have 2 or 3 or 4 comorbidities and you're over 65, I'm not being mean. You probably have another much longer anyway. And that may sound cruel. I don't care. I will not accept lockdowns again. I will not accept destroying our children, which is what we did. We are still paying the price for our children not going to school, not learning, getting stuck online, getting stuck watching spicy content at home. All that, we're still paying for that because you were afraid, not you, Sarah, but as a country, that several 100,000 people over 65 with 2 or 3 comorbidities, the average person who passed away was in their 70s, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not saying you can't live past 70. I'm not saying that. But am I going to destroy the world for my 70-somethings? No. It makes me cruel that I'm cruel. If I have 2 children, 2 daughters. If I have a choice of me dying or them dying, I choose I will die. Done. Not even close. Not even, I didn't even hesitate. Of course not. The youth matters more than me. Period. That's how that works. They are my children. They're far more important than I am. Period. So I'm not going to destroy them because I'm greedy, because I'm scared, because I'm worried. If you are worried about the avian flu, and maybe you should, I don't know who you are listening, maybe you're concerned and you should be worried about it. Okay, no worries. Then get yourself as many shots as you want to get. Please get them. Not just that, be as healthy as you can be. Wear whatever PPE you feel comfortable doing. Stay home if you want to. It's your health. You should do what you feel is appropriate for your health. You should stop destroying the entire world because you're afraid. That is unfair. That is selfish. It's wrong. I wouldn't do it for me. I wouldn't do it for you. Just to be very clear. Not just that. Raw milk. Why in the world does anyone care if someone wants to drink raw milk? How insanely stupid is that? How insanely, not just that, how selfish is that? How self-righteous is that? I'm going to sit here and say, Sarah, because I think raw milk is bad, you may not buy it. You may not drink it. If there is some issue with raw milk, okay, you don't like it, you're afraid of it, you think you might die from it, you might get infected by it, no worries. Please don't buy any raw milk then. No one is forcing, no one's grabbing you, pushing you down, and pouring raw milk down your throat. You don't have to have it if you don't want to. No worries. But yet again, crushing small farms. This is all about, this is what's so funny. You find people saying, it's just the big banks, or it's just the big, no, it's everyday government destroying small businesses. I look in my neighbor, I'm sorry, Sarah, you got me triggered. I'm going to try to be good. Mike, I know Mike's really mad at me, I'm getting triggered. I'm going to calm myself down, I won't get triggered. Calm myself down, okay. I look at my own neighborhood here in Astoria, Queen. I did a video back in 2018. I called it the hoodie video. Why? Because prior to that, I was always wearing like a suit or something. And the guy who was running my marketing at the time said, hey, Larry, like when you're around your neighborhood, what do you actually wear? I said, I wear a hoodie. He said, put a hoodie on. We're going to go in your neighborhood and shoot a video. I said, all right, put a hoodie on. And then he said, just ran about your neighborhood. I said, okay. So I did a video and I talked about how all around me that everything's going away. All the mom and pops going away. And it's been 7 years since. You can't find, I think in my entire area neighborhood, there's like 1 or 2 mom and pops. They're all gone. They're all gone. Everything else is a chain. Everything's a chain, right? No more, Sarah's coffee shop. Now it's Starbucks or whatever. No more, Bobby's Pizza. Now it's whatever, Domino's, whatever. Is it Domino's? We have a pizza joint around. I forgot what it's called. Whatever the chain we have here. We have one of the chains here. I don't get chain pizza, but I had that. So yeah, I completely agree. Not just that, meat processing. I said this, Sarah, and this again, back in 2018, my plan, Sarah, was to say, if you are a farmer, and Wyoming already has this law, we should copy Wyoming and New York. If you're a farmer and you promise, just by signing a sheet of paper, that's all, that you will only sell within New York State, you will not sell outside of New York State, you're immune from all federal regulatory bodies. What? That sounds crazy. I'm taking away this. Yes, because the federal laws is what destroys this stuff. The federal law is what destroys it. The federal law is controlled by big ag. So just have local state laws. State laws still say don't poison people. That's still state law, right? So don't poison people. But all you would say is, as long as you have a note somehow prominently displayed, whatever that is, saying we do not follow federal guidelines. That's it. And then if you, Sarah, say, no, I love my federal government and whatever they say, I trust the FDA completely. And if you believe that, don't buy from that farm. That farm has decided to not follow it. If you don't care, go. Why does that matter? Because meat processing laws, as Sarah knows, I know it's because New York's a massive farm state. People don't know that, right? New York is big on, has been. What has made New York State great, which we're losing, is the 3 Fs. You might laugh at them, but it's true. Finance, farming, and forward thinking. Those are the 3 things that made New York great. We're losing all 3 of them. That's why we're not great anymore. Finance is going away, farming is going away, and we haven't had forward thinking in I don't know how long. That's big. That's going away too. That's all just gone. But farming is a big part of New York State. So that's how I know these things. If you're a small farm, you have to pay and do all the rules for a massive, slaughtering house. Well, you can't afford that stuff. You can't. Why can't you just slaughter your animal and sell it to your neighbor? Oh, no, you got to follow meat processing laws. Why? I just want to, I'm a local farm. I want to go farm a table. What's wrong with that? Well, then people won't know. Then put a sign, a big sign. Make a big sign. We don't follow federal guidelines. And if that scares you, don't eat there. I'm sorry, Sarah. You got me going, but you're completely correct. What can we do was your actual question. What we can do is what I'm doing right now. Not accept lockdowns ever again. Just no lockdowns ever again. And run locally, which I hope to do soon, so that I can tell people and show people you don't need federal guidelines. We're learning it already. We're seeing how the federal government controls us already. That's the one good thing that we're seeing out of all this chaos. We're seeing this for sure, right? There's a lot of chaos, but we're seeing this. And I'm not mad at it. I think that's what we do. I hope I answered your question at least. So yes. Andrew, thank you for the $5. Did you see Cisco had recall protein shakes distributed to senior homes because of listeria, a highly processed shake, and not raw dairy product? Wait a minute, that's impossible, Andrea. I'm sure that was authorized by the FDA, and they're never wrong. So that can't be true. Somehow they must have broken the rules somehow because they follow the rules. Magic happens, and there's never a problem. Yeah, no, that you and I know that I'm just teasing. It's silly. Nothing is perfect. I get it. And there are laws against it. Even if this was some local farm that decided to give some restaurant some food that was bad, that's still against the law. You can't poison people. It might not be a federal case. It'll be a state case. So either way, and if it's not a state case, it'll be a civil lawsuit. So either way, there's punishment available for people who do bad things. You don't have to stop people from having some freedom. Yes. Thank you for that, Andrea. I'm sorry, I went long on that. I get triggered sometimes. I do get triggered. It's true. Sometimes I get triggered. I'm going to calm now. So yes. All right. Let me grab some more, bunch of questions. I do want to grab some before I go back to that for a little bit, if I could. All righty. So many of these. I do appreciate this. All righty. Travis says, if you knew someone who believed could be of great service to RFK Jr.'s HHS mission, where or to whom would you suggest they reach out to? That is a very hard one, Travis, to be forward. Why? Because the second Trump won, everybody who thought that threw their resume in. I mean, you're like 4 months late. I don't mean to be mean or cruel. I'm just being honest. You asked an honest question, I'm giving an honest answer. You're like 4 months late. This was happening. They were recruiting months ago. You are if someone wants to jump on the board now, they're way behind. They're going to have to either find somebody who knows somebody or just put their name in the regular HSS, apply here and hope. I'm being very forward. It is very challenging right now. Whoever, Travis, if it's you or somebody else, you're 4 months too late. I don't mean to be mean. You asked the question. I'm giving you a serious answer. Yeah. So, okay. Rick says, trying fasting today, 21 hours, but wondering about supplements that create ketosis. It appears that for me, less than 20 grams of carbs is enough. It isn't that. Here's the thing, Rick. This is a little keto piece. All of the carbs that you have are basically sitting like in your liver and stomach and your organs right now. You have to be able to get all of them out before you start going to ketosis. And that could take time. Some people will tell you that you should do cardio while you're fasting. And I'm not saying shit, but I've heard people say this. You should do cardio while you're fasting so that you can burn all that out of your organs so you can get yourself into ketosis. Some people say you don't have enough energy, so don't do cardio. I've heard many people say don't do a physical like lift or workout when you're fasting because you won't have enough energy and you have a higher chance of being injured. To be forward, I'm not sure which of those is right. I'll tell you what I do. When I fast, I actually do cardio. Like I'll get on a treadmill, I'll get on a bike. I will do cardio when I'm fasting to get it all out to make sure I go into ketosis. So that's a critical piece. If you can, Rick, I would do some form of cardio. That's my opinion. That's what I do. It isn't about the number of grams. You have to first get stuff out of you first. Second piece, anything with MCT oil. MCT oil, it's coconut oil and other types like that. MCT oil will help to get you into ketosis faster. So I will very often put it in my coffee. I have a cup of coffee and I'll put a teaspoon in. Now, here's the problem with MCT oil. If you haven't used it often, use it right away, it can give you stomach problems. So I would use very little bit, maybe a teaspoon in water, coffee, whatever you're using. Now, if you're fasting, you can have coffee, use Campbell cream in it, right? Because the cream will have calories. So you can have coffee without cream. If you want to use a sweetener, it's got to be a sweetener. Generally speaking, a stevia or monk fruit sweetener is going to not give you any spike and will keep you in a fasting mode. Monk fruit or stevia is basically the only two you can use. I mean, some people think others. Obviously, you can't use sugar or honey because that will get you right out. So Either I would go stevia or monk fruit if you want a sweetener, and if you like sweetener in your coffee or not. If you do, no cream in your coffee. There are some MCT creamers. You could use that if they don't have any calories in them. Some of them do. So I think that also might help you out. I hope that's clear. So keep yourself under 20. Fast for a day or two. If you can go 2 days, home run. I've gone 3 before. If you can go 2 days, even better. But I would just do 1. Doing fine. Do 20 hours, 22 hours, whatever it is. Keep it under 20. Do some form of cardio, whatever's appropriate for you, with a bike, treadmill, walking, whatever's your thing. Do that. And I would use some form of MCT oil. It's very cheap to find. Not cheap. Easy to find. It isn't cheap. It's easy to find. So if that might be helpful too. And I'm doing that right before I start my fast, not during the fast, because MCT oil does have calories. Lots of it, by the way. 1 tablespoon of MCT oil will have like 100 calories. So it's a lot of calories. So have the MCT oil before you fast. I should have been clear on that. Have the MCT oil before you fast. Then do some form of cardio. Get everything out. You should be fine. I hope that was helpful. All right, Daniel, thank you for $10. How do you feel about Trump possibly giving the technocrat-in-chief Elon, the MIC contractor, military contractor, access to all the IRS records on taxpayers? Project Starshield, the new surveillance state. To be very forward, when I hear people say it, they're actually right. And a lot of people are saying, this is not the way to do it. Elon shouldn't have all this power, blah, blah, blah. They're right. They're not wrong, Daniel. They're right. He shouldn't. The problem is there has been no other answer. And there have been decades. Germany is a perfect example that's happening. America, perfect example is happening. There's been no other answer. And with no other answer, this is what we get. The pendulum swings too far. I am not happy about that. And what are we going to do about it? Do we just go back to status quo? Do we go back to doing nothing? Do we go back to, we were on the verge, and I think you know too, Daniel, of violence. America was on the verge of violence. We're not anymore. We're not. You may think, we're not. But people are like, okay, something's changing. Let me watch. If this was 3-4 years ago, does it happen? We'd be jumping out of our skin. But nothing changed for years. Now something's changing. We're accepting of it. So your fear, I'm assuming you have a fear of this. I do too. I don't like it. I don't know what other option that we could have had. But no, of course I don't like it. I don't like this. Of course not. I don't want that. Why would I want Elon Musk? Don't get me wrong. Smart guy, doing great stuff. I've no shade on him for him having his success. He knows how to be successful. He's also a massive government grifter. That's also true. So both of those things are true. He is a massive government grifter. He is a military complex contractor. Of course, yes. And he gets stuff done. Both of those things are true. Do I really want this guy who believes he's the savior of humanity to have all this power? No. But do I want America to keep going down the spiral toilet that it's been going down for the past, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever you want to call it? No. Do I wish I could have gotten in and got some change? That Gary Johnson could have gotten in and got some change? That Ron Paul could have gotten and got some change? Yes, I wish we could have got some change. We couldn't. The system told us, go to hell. I know. I tried more than once. Gary Johnson raised $13 million. Couldn't break 5%. I raised $500,000 just in New York State. Couldn't get on the ballot. Couldn't get on the ballot. RFK Jr. spent $20 million on ballot access. Couldn't get on the ballot. Spent $1 million in New York State. Couldn't get on the ballot. They've made a system, Daniel, where we cannot make change. I was at a Republican event last week talking to them about the mayoral race, what's happening in New York City, right? Chatting about this and about that. They're all like, what are we going to do? We can't do anything. And they're like, well, Larry, why don't you maybe try to run locally in your area? I said, they haven't run locally. No, the Republican Party, no other party except the Democrats have run a candidate. They haven't run a candidate in 10 years, Daniel. In my area, when the Democrats run at the general election, they win 99-1. There's 1% of write-ins and 99% are Democrats. That's Kim Jong-un numbers. That's Saddam Hussein numbers. Right? Putin wishes he got numbers like that. Putin can't get them numbers. That's what happens in my area. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying at all that your fears aren't valid. I have them too. I've just watched the system completely ignore the people again and again and again. And if I have to put up with this to make change, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up. I do love my country. I would like it to change. This is not the best way. I agree with you. It's not. And the left said, this is the wrong way of doing things. The left's correct when they say it. They're right. This is not the best way of doing it. Right. But you had the country for years and you did shit. So you get this now. You could have changed it the right way. You didn't. You get this. You could have made change. You didn't. You get this. That's how it works. So I'm sorry. I'm getting triggered tonight. You AM, you got your triggering me tonight. Oh, here comes Sarah. Uh-oh. Am I getting triggered again, Sarah? All right. Sarah says, thank you for the $4.99. If you ever do a live with guest and topic farms, I'll do an expose on all the lies, like Vital Farms. Thanks for backing small farmers. Oh, I appreciate that. You know, I should do more guests. I haven't, because to be very forward, I have been very busy with work these last couple of months. I mean, like crazy busy with work. And doing this show and getting guests and such takes a lot of time. And I just haven't had the time to do it. I just haven't. I'm so behind on shows I should be doing, guests I have to have on, collabs I should be doing, and I just haven't had time. I've actually been considering taking time off from work, taking a leave of absence, just so I could work on that. I've considered it because I'm so far behind on doing better shows like that. So thank you for that reminder, Sarah. My team's going to yell at me tomorrow. Say, Sarah's right. That's really, see, Sarah, now you're going to get me in trouble with my team. So weapons, thank you for the $5. If we want to make it really fair / transparent with the IRS, then all citizens should have the same level of access. Not an end solution, but a starting point. I love that idea. I love the concept. The problem now becomes, then does everyone get access to everybody's income, right? So everyone sees everybody's income. That's a weird one. Now, here's what I like about that. People go, I don't want you to know my income. Yes, you know what? How about nobody does? How about we have no income tax because nobody should know? It's nobody's business. But I get your point, right? I love this concept, right? Well, that's the other part here. Okay, what makes some bureaucrat any better or worse than Elon Musk in theory? Like, I get what Daniel's saying. Elon Musk is far more powerful and a military-industrial complex. Yeah, God, Daniel's correct. But theoretically, because some guy's rich versus some guy being poor versus some guy being middle class versus some guy being super rich. In theory, should anybody have that information? Super weapons? Or we all should. You're right. Then we all know what everybody makes. They go, what's Daniel make? Oh, he makes that kind of money. Okay, what's Andrea make? Let me go check. And I can just see what everybody makes. You can do that. Then you have guys who are savvier. I'm not saying who, but certain people I know, who may be me, who go out of their way to literally make as little as possible because they want to pay less taxes. Because remember, not tax evasion. Tax evasion is against the law. You should not do it. Tax evasion is bad. However, tax avoidance, it is our American duty. Just saying. Literally, our country was started for tax avoidance. So yes, I get your point completely. All right, let me grab, if I could, I'm going to head over to Rumble and grab a couple of Rumble rants if I can. First is from Texas spy historian. Just saw soldiers starve, and I can't believe the Army stole $151 million from soldiers' food funds in 2025, leaving them short on meals like during Thanksgivings, base division. Wow, I didn't know that. He goes on to say, thank you for the dollar, all noting it, but doing nothing about it. Where'd that money really go? And why can't they account for it? What's your take on this fraud, waste, and abuse? The military-industrial complex and the Pentagon is one of, if not the worst perpetrators of fraud, waste, and abuse. Probably the worst, but if not the worst, surely top 2, top 3. So yes, I was in the military. I've been in the military. You know the waste, the fraud. You could be a private. You could be an average, sailor. You could be an average airman, everyday Marine, and you see it. Imagine if you're an officer. Oh my God, you probably live it. You just live it. Now here's the problem. All those officers who've been watching the fraud, waste, and abuse since they were second lieutenants, now they're generals. They've been doing the fraud, waste, and abuse for 30 years. They're really good at it, man. Like 30 years of fraud, waste, and abuse, you'd be good at it too. Anybody would. You do something for 30 years, you're going to be good at it. This is how it works. So yes, I think it's embarrassing that we do that constantly. The problem is these guys don't care where the money goes or doesn't go, as long as it somehow gets spent. That's the issue. Now, for many of these generals, some of you may not know this, we have more generals now than we had during World War II. Let me say it again. We have more generals now than we had during World War II. During World War II at its height, the American military had about 10 or 12 million people. I think about 12 million people at its height. Now about 2. We have 1/6 the military and more generals. That right there is fraud, waste, and abuse. I wish Mr. Elon Musk could get into the Pentagon and fire 80% of the generals. 80% could go away tomorrow. No one would even notice. No one would notice. Except all the military industrial complex people who are buying and selling them, for the future. So, yeah, I hope I answered your question, Texas Spy Historian. Thank you for that. So, yes. RMC, if I have, I covered that. Good. All right. So, I know so many questions. I do want to keep going down here if I can. Rick says, fascism has no meaning. True. They've made it that way. They've literally made it that way. Yes. All righty. If I can keep going down here. Andrew says, rip FDP. Yeah. Well, and he goes on to say FDP is more run-of-the-mill liberal, classic liberals. Yeah, that's what I meant. They're much more, if there's going to be a milquetoast libertarian party in Germany, it's the FDP, Andrew. You're correct. It's them, not the AFD. It's the FDP. I completely agree. I think you're right. Yes. Dave says, yes. I said this on Twitter. Mussolini was Mussolini. Salazar was Salazar. Franco was Franco. And the H-man was H-man. Putin is Putin. It's like a Venn diagram. It's not an exact match. Correct. Anytime someone goes, yeah, so-and-so was Hitler. Okay, stop talking. Because all they're doing is insulting, right? And that's the thing. They're just going to insulting. They don't have any plans, any ideas, just insulting. That's it. All right, let me go a little bit further on this one, then I'll get back to your I'll get back to all your comments and questions.
I have noticed and noted the wording of this motion, right? That qualifier. Is Donald Trump a 21st century fascist? But the arguments that we've heard is that seems to conquer all before it. That the definition of a fascist is one thing, the definition of a 21st century fascist is another, and it doesn't matter that they don't resemble each other at all. That's a ridiculous point and one that we should reject, I think.
Just because you say 21st century doesn't mean all of a sudden, well, now it's okay. Look,
we've heard a series of cherry-pick quotes, the odd policy, hand gesture. I tend to gesticulate a lot myself, so I'm going to keep it to a minimum because I know it's a dangerous game these days. But this idea that just because you see some superficial resemblance to Nazism or fascism, if you squint hard enough, that makes Trump a fascist, I think is facile. You can talk about the fact.
Someone, again, they keep jumping on board. But he put the hand signal. Okay, yes, I get it. My question is, do you honestly believe that America is 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months from building the camps and putting insert minority, Jews, Muslims, Mexicans, whatever, building these camps and putting them there? Do you honestly believe that? And then systematically murdering them. Do you honestly believe that? Do you honestly believe that we are about to go on physical world conquest with our military going across. Now, I know Trump's talked a lot of trash. I get it. You're not wrong. He's talked a lot of trash. What has actually happened? His point he brought up, even with Jay, day after 5, even with that, was there an actual, didn't he actually step down? So far, everything is, and maybe I'm wrong. And look, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first guy to say, you know, when I'm wrong, I say it. Just so damn right I'm wrong. But when I am wrong, I will say it. Unless something's crazy, we're nowhere near building the camps and the trains, and that's not a thing. We're not murdering people. Our war on drugs murders more people than anything else we've done. Our war on poverty murders more people. We lose how many people per day because of deaths of despair, overdoses, suicides? Hundreds. I'm not making that number up. We lose hundreds every day because of that. Hundreds every day. Nothing to do with this stuff.
That Trump and his rhetoric about migration, meanwhile blithely ignoring the fact that in both of his terms, Barack Obama deported more people from America than Trump did in his first term. But because he doesn't do it meanly, because he doesn't sound off about it on social media, no one...
This is true, and this is my point. And I know if you lean right, you might not want to hear this. But Democrats they have good rhetoric, right? Obama was smooth. Clearly, I'm not an Obama supporter, but I have eyes. The guy's smooth. It's true. He's not harsh like Trump is harsh. It's just true. The guy's right. And because Obama's smooth and Trump is harsh, nobody cares that Obama actually deported more people. He was the porter in chief.
In this room seems to care about any of that.
Right.
People may claim, as we've already heard, that there is some sort of, again, something suspect to a lot of the policies that he pursues. And again, you don't need to agree with everything that he does, but you have to recognize that the reason Trump has managed to get himself elected twice is not because people are stupid. It's because there are issues that, for whatever reason, he was the only one talking about. You take the gender issue, the idea that to say that someone who's gone through the benefits of male puberty should be allowed to punch women in the face in a boxing ring is obviously ridiculous. Everyone knows it's ridiculous, yet it had to fall to Donald Trump to point this out.
Now, whether you believe that or not isn't the point. The point is the vast majority of America believes that. You may not personally, but what he's saying, like 80 to 90% of Americans believe what he just said. So why didn't somebody talk about it? They didn't. But what you see is, and it's the point I'm going to bring up here. He says the fact that Trump got elected twice is not because Americans are stupid. And a bunch of you, particularly if you're on the left, said, yes, it is. You said that in your head. I know you did, because most of my friends are Democrats. That's how I know you said that, because they tell me that all the time. Why are these Republicans so stupid? Yeah, all the time. I was at an event the other day, and a woman says, she tells me she's a Republican, and she said, you know, there's this local like Facebook group, neighborhood group that I have, and people often put, you know, events that are coming up, and sometimes they put some political events coming up, Democrat this, Democrat that. Now, again, this is New York City, Queens. My congressperson's AOC. So now you know the area I'm talking about. So she's in Queens also. And she says, so I put, you know, there's going to be a Republican club meeting here. And the hate I got, she told me, this is what she told me. This is her words. She said, the hate I got, I couldn't believe. She said it was things like, great, now I know where the Nazis are. Yes. So you might think people don't think that. No. There's a lot of people. And if you thought that, you lean left or you're a Democrat, because lots of Democrats actually believe, yep, they're all stupid. Oh, they're all Nazis. They believe that. Immediately insult. Okay. When I was at a Republican event last, I was at 2 Republican events last week here in New York. And one guy asked me the question. He said, Larry, you know, do we have to talk to Democrats? I'm not joking. This question I went to the event, I was talking, it was live. The guy says, Larry, do we have to talk to Democrats to win? Can we win in New York City without talking to Democrats? And I'm like, no. You have to talk to Democrats. You have to talk to people who are on the left. You have to. You can't just call them all crazy, which, to be forward, Republicans, they literally call themselves, if you, for those who don't know this, in New York City, the people in New York City who are Republicans call themselves the Common Sense Caucus. I'm not joking. That's their name. That's their name. They say Democrats don't have common sense. That's what they say. Now, if you're a Democrat, how's that feel? No different than some Democrat insulting some Republicans. Insults don't work. You've heard me say nationally, Democrats just insult Republicans. Doesn't work. Well, in my state, Republicans just insult Democrats. Doesn't work. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Insulting the other doesn't work. That's not how that works. You fail. So he literally asked that question. I'm like, yes, we have to talk to him. He said, how? This is what he told me. How? They're crazy. They don't have they have no common sense. That's what he told me. And I said, focus on the outcome. Because the reality of it is, we all want the same outcome. Have a plan to get to the outcome. We all want to talk about the plan. Don't just go, whatever, school choice or whatever is the phrase of the day. That's not going to work. What's the plan? You got to talk to these people. He's right. This guy talking is right. You can't just, well, you can't effectively, how about that? You can't be effective and just insult people. It doesn't work. You got to talk to them. If you live in Nebraska or Utah and you're not a Republican, you better talk to Republicans or you're not getting elected. If you live in New York or California or Massachusetts, you can't get elected without talking to Democrats. You got to talk to them. You have to. You got to have an answer. You can't just insult. And sadly, we just keep spending time insulting. And a great thing about two people who are now in the world with us, RFK Jr. and Trump, they don't care about being insulted. I'm sorry, they do. Sorry, they do. They will keep moving even though they're insulted. How about that? Trump will counterpunch. RFK Jr. will try to be better. He's a better person than Trump is in that regard. Better than me, to be forward. RFK Jr. is better than me in that regard. He just takes it and moves on. But they can take getting insulted and just keep going. A lot of people can't.
I think people would be wise. Is that a point of information or just a beef? But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that if you stretch the definition of fascism...
To be clear, this is his time. He's making his speech. They've interrupted him 3 times already.
In this respect, it's not just grim. It's not just wrong-headed. It's not just against the academic literature or the dictionary definition. It amounts to plundering some of the darkest moments of human history, exploiting the unique suffering of those who perished in gas chambers and on battlefields in order to score cheap political points.
Home run, this guy. So the people who actually suffered are now pushed to the side so you can go, so you can virtue signal. The
insistence on calling Trump fascist says less about him, I think, and the populist movement that he's kind of improbably ended up leading, and more about the people who are relentlessly slinging the accusation at him. I think it reveals a clapped-out political establishment that no longer knows what it stands for, can no longer defend why it should be in charge, and therefore it demonizes any opposition to itself as proto-Nazi. It also...
This is so important. If you watched people like, and this, by the way, goes for Republican establishment too. Republican establishment has figured out they can no longer beat Trump, so they found a way to work with him. But they think the same way he does too. The Democrats were like, no, we can't work with him. We have to fight him. But if you remember, Hakeem Jeffries last week literally said, I don't know. He was publicly, he said, I don't know what tools, I'm trying to figure stuff out. I got nothing. Yes, he literally has admitted he has no plans. He can't. Remember, the Democratic Party last year when they got their butt kicked, when they looked at their leadership, they clearly said, let's clean house and of course they did not. They kept the same people. Everyone stayed in charge. Everyone kept in power. They changed nothing. They don't know why they're in charge. They can't validate why they're in charge. They can't validate why they're running the Democratic Party. the actual left of the Democrats has left the Democratic Party. They don't even know what to do, so they just demonize everybody. He's right. Mitch McConnell, the poster child for the right establishment, is no better. He can't do it either. That's why I'm voting against these people because I'm mad. That's it. He is the Republican answer to that.
Reveals an increasingly out-of-touch bourgeois left that's become so detached, so disdainful even, of working class people, but that whenever they get together and rebel against the establishment, it instantly assumes they've been whipped up into this by some kind of racist, fascistic demagogue.
Yes. Don't I tell you that all the time? The second you say anything's wrong with mainstream Democrats, you're an ist or a phobe. Guaranteed. You're an ist or a phobe. Because why? You would never. No one would have done that unless you're an ist or a phobe. You must be one. Maybe you're both of them. Of course you are. Of course you are. This is my biggest beef of all the beefs I have with Bernie Sanders. This is the biggest one, is that he fell into this. He became one of them when he had the chance to not. Well, maybe he didn't become. Maybe he was always one of them. But he had a chance to not be. That's what I'll say. He had a chance to not be one of them. And he chose, no. I'm going to be one of them. I'm good. I'll talk like I'm not one of them. That I'll do. Again, back to the same thing. Democratic rhetoric is very good, right? So he's going to talk like he's not one of them, but he's exactly one of them.
When many of those voters are black, are Muslim, are Latino, record numbers of whom backed Trump in November last year. That's a strange kind of white supremacy as far as I'm concerned. This pattern of hysteria keeps repeating itself, and I think it is getting no one, regardless of what corner of politics.
Fifth time he's been interrupted.
They're in anyway. Yes.
Do you think maybe you talked a lot about his words, and we shouldn't pay attention to his words and more so his actions, which seems like almost a concession that there might be traces of fascism in what he's saying. And if that's
okay, then her word, as she's trying to attack him, she's like, I gotta get fascism. So she says, there might be traces of fascism in what he's saying. That's what her words. There might be traces of fascism in what he's saying.
True, then don't you think that the left that you're demonizing is the reason that he's not been able to manifest that fascism in real life?
So he's saying, so because of that, the left is the reason why he's been unable to manifest that fascism in real life. That's what she says. So because the left is so good at fighting him, the left has stopped him. That's what she just said. Holy shit, she's stupid. Or a total ideologue. Hakeem Jeffries goes, I don't know what to do. That's fighting? Have you seen the Democrats fighting? They're not fighting. The Democrats literally said, we're going to help him. We hope he does well. There's no fighting being done. You see fighting somewhere?
Resisting it, so...
Who's resisting? Look, yeah, and they clap. Yeah, we're resisting. We're resisting. How are you resisting? What are you doing? The 7 people who went into the streets and went, we don't like Trump. That's resisting? Stop. You're playing yourself. Stop playing yourself. Look at them clapping. Yeah, we're beating Trump. As Elon Musk takes over the IRS. We're resisting. What planet she live on? This is virtue signaling at its best. Right there. See? That'll teach you. And we're clapping. You go, girl. We are clapping. See that? You go, girl.
I'll be very clear. In his actions, in his words, to compare Donald Trump, a strange, unique political phenomenon by any stretch of the imagination, to, as I say, the most evil movements that we have ever seen, with millions murdered, I think is absurd on the face of it.
And I'll keep, she won't stop. This is now the 6th time he's been interrupted. Now, to be forward, if this was Nazi Germany or fascist Italy, her going, we're resisting, would have got your ass put into a camp and exterminated. Or if you were a loyal German, got you sent to the Russian front and killed by Russians. I know that happened in my family. That's what you get for resisting. You go to the Russian front and you get killed by Russians. That's what happens. You die in Stalingrad, or you get arrested, or you become a POW in Stalingrad and stay in a POW camp until 1948. The war ended in 1945. And you stay in a Russian prison camp for 3 years after the war is over. That's what happened to Germans who resisted. They did that. That's what actually happened to Germans who resisted. Yeah. So she can shut her mouth. She's an idiot. I don't mean to be mean. Yeah, I do mean to be mean. She's another idiot. There's so many of them. I do mean to be mean. I don't care. She can be mad at me if she wants to. It's just true. Daniel, thank you for the $10. Let me grab some of these if I can. From your chat yesterday, is Trump still for red flag laws? People on antidepressants would have their guns taken first and due process second. Any reason to be skeptical on this? I don't think Trump cares at all. As I said before, this is not Trump's piece at all. He doesn't care. He'll only care if there's a school shooting. Otherwise he does not care at all. He doesn't care about the Second Amendment at all. He isn't for or against the Second Amendment. He does not care about the Second Amendment at all. Being very forward. He does not care. If it went away tomorrow, fine. If it was, actually respected, fine. He doesn't care. He will only care if there is a school shooting. And then he will react accordingly to whatever he thinks is the best case. He has more people around him now who would probably be against red flag laws. So I think he'd be against red flag laws. That's my thought process. Only because he doesn't care about the Second Amendment at all. It's not on his radar. Not something he thinks about. Not a thing. So that's why. I hope that was clear. Kay's thinking about $5. I asked AI to give me a list of states where China owns farmland near military bases. The amount was 20 as of 2022. What's your take on that? I think that's a big issue. I completely agree. It's a big issue. I'm not necessarily against it necessarily, but the fact that very few people actually know that, a lot of Chinese companies that are directly linked to the CCP are buying massive amounts of farmland. That's true. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. What I do know is the vast majority of Americans don't know that, Case John. They don't know that. They're like, what? No, that can't be true. Yes, a lot. And it's still getting bigger. Now, the question becomes, though, is it China CCP companies? Is it Chinese financial companies that are putting money into American private equity firms, and the American private equity firms are buying them because of things like cannabis, and they're concerned about, new food and meat and the food shortages? Is it that? This is the details that I'm unsure of. Is it just because military bases? Now, to be forward, military bases tend to be built away from not near large population centers, which is why there's often farmland near them. So that could, in theory, be a coincidence. I'm not sure if it's because of the farmland or the military bases or both. I could definitely see it being because of the farmland. It could be because of that. So, but my point is, very few people actually know that. So thank you for bringing that up. All right. If I can grab a couple more of these here. Paula says, are you concerned that the far right is surging in Germany? I'm not. It's normal. The far right is surging here too. But the far left is also surging, Paul. That's my point. The far left is surging and the far right surging. Here in America too. As I told you, the far left is growing because it's abandoning the Democratic Party. The far right is too here. When the system doesn't work, people want an answer. That's the way. People want an answer. And if that's far left, okay. If that's far right, okay. They really want an answer. So I'm not surprised at all. I'm not worried. I don't think Germany's going to go far right. I don't think it will. And I said that before. I said I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Germany's going to go far right. I don't see it. So yes. Jan says Patreon too. I do a Patreon. You can go to Patreon if you go to either, if you're watching on either Facebook or YouTube, you can in the description. The description gives you 3 ways of helping out. You can help out on Facebook. You can help out on Patreon. You can also help out on YouTube. YouTube is the easiest one. That's why I used to bring up YouTube, but whatever works for you. Yes, all of them are okay. All are good. All those are good. So, all righty. Let's see if I can grab some of this. So many of these. All right. Let's see here. Phil says, I have a friend who was talking about living off grid or moving to Spain because of Project 2025. Yes, because Project 25 was going to make her trans partner go to a prison camp. Every little thing is confirmation. Yes, you're right. There are people who honestly believe this, Phil. They think the camps are there and trans people are going to the camps. Here's what I can tell you for sure. Trans people are not going to camps. They're not. That's not a thing. I can promise you that. They're not going to camps. Too many Americans would never accept it. There's a difference, and this is one of the biggest problems we have in America right now. There is a difference between tolerance and acceptance. And people think that we are somehow required to accept. We are not. We are required to tolerate. And that may sound horrible, but it's still true, right? There are many lifestyles I don't like, and I wouldn't accept, but I tolerate them. It's just true, because that's okay, right? You guys know I'm sober. I don't even drink. I don't drink. I don't smoke weed. I don't do any drugs. The only drug I use is caffeine. That's it. It's the only drug I use. So Mormons got me beat. But I think someone told me that Mormons now going to have caffeine. So that's it, right there. I'm basically a Mormon, right? Basically, I'm a Mormon, right, is what I am. But you don't see me tell you you can't, you shouldn't. I tolerate them all, as I should, as you should, as you should. Now, I have trans friends. I live in New York City. Of course I do. Of course I do. So, of course, I'm very accepting of the trans community. Of course I am. But I don't expect you to be. I don't know you feel yourself personally. I'm just saying, anyone watching, I don't expect you to be accepting of trans people. I don't expect that. Not required. I expect you to be tolerant. That's it. They exist. They're a thing. Do your thing. Leave me alone. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. I don't go out clubbing. That's not my thing. People like clubbing. Go clubbing. I'm tolerant of it. I'm not going to hang out with you. I'm not going to go to the club with you. It's not what I'm going to do. It's not my thing. You can do it, though. What do I care? Enjoy. Raw milk. If you like raw milk, have raw milk. If you don't want to drink it, don't drink it. The same thing. You don't have to accept it and pour raw milk into your cereal in the morning if you don't want to. Fine, don't. But let somebody else. So what your friend thinks is, because someone does not accept, now they're going to kill you. No. I can say I don't like it. I can say I don't believe it. I can say I think it's dumb. Again, I'm very accepting of trans people because I live in New York City. I have trans friends, of course, right? Absolutely, I am. But I don't expect anybody else to. They're not required to. You are only required to tolerate. That's it. But we think, oh, if you don't, I have to force acceptance. And that's why this is the reason why the pendulum has swung so far the opposite way. Because so many people are trying to force acceptance and not just accept tolerance. Here's the funny part. If you accept tolerance, tolerance very often turns into acceptance. Just leave it alone. It very often turns into acceptance. Very often. Not always, but very often. Just accept tolerance. It's fine. I don't have to accept you. You don't have to accept me. It's okay, right? You don't have to. It's okay. Anyway, I hope that made sense to you at least. So yes. All righty. Let's see. Andrea says, one of the biggest fear-mongers got canned. Goodbye to Joy Reid. Oh, was that right? I didn't hear that. Oh, God, I should have checked that one. I've been watching that for MSNBC recently. So yeah, but yeah, that's a good thing. I like that. Dave says, Larry, the problem is some of Trump's supporters think that anyone who doesn't support Trump, even in the Republican Party, are the enemy. That's also true. That's also true. The issue, though, is generally speaking, both parties do that, but generally speaking, it is Trump, which is the center, that makes any sense. Trump is the center when it comes to the current Republican Party. So you can have other thoughts as long as you like Trump. That makes any sense, right? So you can be, to the earlier point Daniel was talking about, you can be anti-2A, pro-2A, Second Amendment, but you like Trump? Okay, you're fine, right? You can be pro-tariff, anytime, but you like Trump? Okay. Like, people are okay with that. You do find a lot of that. He becomes the center of fact, to the point where a lot of people who, when things go poorly for them, they won't blame Trump, even if it's Trump's fault. They won't. So, like, let's say Trump is telling Elon Musk to fire people, and you get fired. A lot of people getting fired go, it's the government's fault. Okay, you know Trump did that. No, Trump would never do that. It's the government's fault. Even that will happen sometimes. You see that. It's very true. And this is the problem. It's a problem, but it's also the way he gets stuff done. Both of them. James says, I don't believe that the Democrats are left-wing or the Republicans are right-wing at all. The best chance to find real left and right-wing would be in third-party or independent movements. I completely agree. The Constitution Party is far more right-wing than the Republican Party. But if you know it, far more right-wing. Yes, the Green Party, far more left-wing than the Democratic Party. You're right. I think third parties, independent movements are, I'd agree with you. I think you're totally correct. That's absolutely true. So yes. So Matt says, are these dudes like 15? Is this English Parliament? No, it's Cambridge Union Debate Society. That's where it is. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. That's all. So I just thought it was interesting. I thought you guys might like it. That's why I said I thought it was interesting. Grace asks, is the 5,000 refund going to happen? I do think there'll be a refund. I do not think it's $5,000. I do think. And the reason why is it is a beautiful excuse for a stimmy check. And Trump loves stimmy checks. So do I think a check's coming? Yes. $5,000? No. That's a lot of money. I don't see that coming. And in theory, it'll be $5,000 per person. In theory. Which means if you got a family of 4, that's 20 grand. I don't see it. I don't see it. I see maybe like adult taxpayers, I don't know, $1,000. Something like that, right? That's what I see, Grace. Look, if Trump can give a stimmy check out with his name on it, he will give it out. Guaranteed. Did it last time. Loved it. He'll do it again. So are stimmy checks coming? Yes. $5,000 per person? No. So just so you know, yeah, you'll be getting something. That's for sure. Daniel, thank you for the $10. Conspiracy time. Another technocrat, Peter Thiel, who hand-selected Vance as VP and funded his Senate race, and is also a committee member of the Bilderberg Group. Oh, okay. Did you give me more for that? Oh, you did? Okay, yes. All right. Wow, Daniel, thank you for 2 super chats. I appreciate that. The original plan of technocracy in the 30s called for techno-scientific elites micromanaging society, which called for tech-native North America, which included U.S., Canada, Greenland, and Panama. Yes, I know a bit about that, but there was a problem with that. A lot of that was actually based upon IQ, if you remember that. A lot of it was. Not all of it. A big chunk was based upon IQ, not class, believe it or not, right? That's the difference between the techno-scientific elites. Techno-scientific elites aren't always of the highest class. They are of the highest intelligence. They're the intelligentsia or the elites. The problem is every time they did tests on and try to get people to make things work who had high IQ, it never worked. And it still won't work. Now, is IQ a bad thing? Some of you who listen to me, I talk about IQ often. IQ is not a bad thing. It's nice if you have a high IQ. It's nice. But once you get past a certain amount of IQ, you actually start to suffer when it comes to success. And that's statistically, obviously, there's exceptions, of course, but statistically. The average IQ in America is around 100. One of the best IQs to have to be successful in general in America is around 130. That is like the sweet spot. If you have that type of IQ around 130, 125 to 135, around 130, you are like smart enough to be above average, but not so smart that you either can't communicate, can't get together, can't do stuff, right? That kind of, right? Like that is like perfect. Now, does it mean you can't be successful otherwise? No, of course. You just got to work harder and smarter too. Like, so if your IQ is higher, if you have an IQ of 155, 165, you're in genius level IQ, but you probably can't communicate well. You may not be able to get people well. You often have trouble with other issues. So you have to work hard to overcome that. If your IQ is lower, well, then you don't retain knowledge as much. So you got to study harder. So you got to work harder for that. You have to do things more often than somebody else, learn more, get more people, whatever the case may be. So there is a sweet spot IQ where anyone can be successful. But if you're not in that sweet spot, you're going to have to do some other things harder, some other way, work on other skills, right? If your IQ is higher, you have to work on either physical skills or on personality skills, like soft skills. If your IQ is lower, you have to work on literally studying more because you don't have the highest IQ. IQ is your ability basically to really like get things faster, absorb things faster, retain knowledge, things like that. So if IQ is lower, you got to work on it, you got to study more. That's how it works. You can always out hustle if you want to. If you're higher, the other problem is when you have a higher IQ, you often think you're better than others. So that comes across in your communication also. So people don't want to work with you because you're a jerk. So that too. So all those things come together. So I do remember that idea. They can try it again if they want to, but that never works. The technocrat piece doesn't work. And it's because the elites can't run things. You got to remember something. In the reality, and I'm going to go back to, I'm looking over on Rumble, and Joel says, the C students run the country. Yeah, it's sometimes true. The reality of it is, the smartest people aren't the bosses. the bosses hire the smartest people. Does that make sense? So the technocrat, generally speaking, isn't the smartest guy or gal. The technocrat hires the smartest guys or gals. So I get what you're saying, Daniel. I don't see it working. I've never seen it work. They've talked about it for decades. I don't see it happening. So yeah, absolutely. I don't see it. Hope that makes sense. So, all righty. I do have to grab some more of these comments, and let me wrap this up with wrap this last piece up, just to wrap it up so you guys can see the end of it.
The point I'm trying, give me a minute. The use and abuse of the F word, and Roger touched on this, has been going on for a very long time. Almost as soon as fascism appeared on the scene, people were throwing it around like muck to see if it will stick to their opponents or people they just happened to dislike. And that Tribune piece from 1944 that you referenced there, Roger, George Orwell was already taking aim at people who were robbing the word of its meaning because this stuff matters. He noticed that it was being applied to conservatives, socialists, Stalinists, Trotskyists, supporters of the war, opponents of the war, astrologers, women, dogs. These are all direct quotes. The word had been degraded, he concluded, to the level of a swear word. And my point here is that is a big problem. You might be thinking, okay, but does this really matter? Why get so exercised about the most powerful man in the world being called names?
Yes, this is a good point. I'm not mad that people call Trump names. Trump volunteered to do this. Trump has fought hard to do this. He's the most powerful man on the planet. Get yelled at. I don't care. I'm nowhere near his power, and I get yelled at. So you can get yelled at, right? I'm not even in his universe, and I get yelled at. So you can get yelled at and insulted. That is not my issue. I do not mind people insulting Trump. That's not my issue. This is my issue. What he's going to say right now.
And it's a fair question to ask. Well, first of all, this isn't just about Donald Trump. This insistence that the populist revolts of 2016 and onwards were all about fascist demagogues manipulating people, it's a smear on those voters. It's a naked attempt to delegitimize their concerns, to delegitimize democracy.
It's what I keep saying. It is disrespect, delegitimizing. As he says it better than I would say it, right? That's good, right? He just disrespect them, ignore them. They don't count. Yes.
And it's an attempt to shame the working classes for revolting against an out-of-touch establishment. It doesn't matter what you think about.
It's an attempt to shame the masses for revolting against the establishment. Literally what happened in 2016 and last year. It's what I said. You heard me say it. Once we were done with selection, I said, this is the stop shaming me election. I am tired of being shamed. All you do is shame me. Stop shaming me. And people are tired of it. The insults no longer work. The F word doesn't work anymore.
Donald Trump, they were right to reject that establishment. Secondly, I implore you to vote against this motion because, as I say, words and historical memory matter. To say that Trump is a fascist, to allow his...
7th time he was interrupted. 7 times he was interrupted. This is his time to talk. He was interrupted 7 times.
Hysterical critics to pose as the heirs of the French resistance is to denude fascism and anti-fascism of its meaning. Anti-fascism used to mean risking it all to fight Franco's forces in Spain, as Orwell did.
Yep.
Anti-fascism used to mean facing down Oswald Mosley's black shirts in the East End. Today, anti-fascism means whinging at the leader of the free world on social media.
Yes. The actual anti-fascism were people who literally fought in the streets, who went to jail, who were killed. Yes.
Brawling with plumbers in MAGA hats in the streets. We should reject this degradation of a once proud tradition of anti-fascism. More importantly, and very finally, if we accept this motion, we accept the dilution of fascism and its horrors. We defang that word. We reduce it to a swear word and a smear. We turn the graveyards of the 20th century into a playground in which to have our own political spats.
8 times he has now been interrupted. 8 times. They can't just shut up and let the guy talk because they got it triggered. How dare you not let me call him a fascist? He said it. You turn graveyards into playgrounds. Why? So you
That is an insult to the millions of people who lost their lives to fascism, particularly European Jewry, and I hope you will reject this motion as a consequence. Thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed that one. That's why I wanted to put it up there. I've been talking about it for a while. I wanted to make sure I was getting it out. So yes, there we go. Let me grab some more. This is NAMA. I took a lot of time up, but I did take all these questions. I did. So I still want to keep going down here if I can. So, all right, let's see if I can go down here. Let me see if I can grab some of these. IC said, doesn't Elon have top secret clearances? I assume so. I actually don't know. I assume so. He's a top level military industrial complex guy. He does SpaceX. One would assume he'd have to. So, yeah, one would assume that. Yes. I can't imagine that not being the case. So, all right. IC goes on to say DMV workers and welfare workers have access to people's information also. They could just as much with that information as Elon can. Well, he has Twitter, so not as much. But the point is that's my point though. Your point is very valid, right? What makes them any better? Right? Michael says benevolent dictatorship versus dysfunctional bureaucracy. We're choosing benevolent dictatorship. And I think most people would choose it. I think most would. I think you see it. If I can't pay my bills, if I can't raise a family, if I can't find a romantic partner, if I can't buy a home, if I can't buy a car, if I can't get a job I like, whatever is my goal, I made up a bunch of those goals, whatever is the goal you're looking for, whatever matters to you. If you can't get that and you don't see any chance of getting it, why do you care about democracy or some concept you don't care about? If you've been voting really hard for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you can't do the basic stuff that you want to do, why do you care? That's the point. The elites who are so angry, they're angry because they're doing just fine. They're all doing good. They are all rocking and rolling. They are all doing just fine. And that's why they don't care, because they're doing just fine. You're right. Yes. So Daniel says, sorry, live for Turkey. No. That's why I'm here. Yes, that's why I'm here. Sarah says, you just take some days off. You work too hard. Yes, but I like working. Like I enjoy what I do. I don't always enjoy my consulting job. Sometimes it can be hard. When I lose a case, particularly when I know the person's innocent, that breaks me. I was talking to Mike about this a while ago. It literally just breaks me. The first time it happened, the first time I saw an innocent man go to jail, I literally, and I'm going to be very forward with you, Sarah, I literally cried. Literally, like tears in my eyes. I literally cried. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't accept it. I couldn't believe it. The guy's innocent. I don't cry anymore. But the first time I did, and my daughter remembers that. And Mike was here when I was, 3 of us were together. And my daughter goes, Dad, I've only seen you cry twice. And that was once. It's like, yeah, it really affected me, because not only was it unfair, clearly, not only was it wrong, clearly, there were two other parts. I knew the guy now. I'd spent months working on the case. I knew he was innocent. My friend went to jail for no reason. And number two, it showed me how horrible the system is and how apathetic and uncaring everyone in it is. The system, our justice system, is not justice, it's a punishment system. It is literally a meat grinder of despair. That's all it is. It's a meat grinder of despair. And the people in it grind up your lives and destroy them and don't care. And they decide everyone is guilty. And I get why, because if they're not all guilty, then you're a terrible person. So they're all guilty and they all deserve it. So everyone who walks in front of that courtroom, everyone who comes there is an evil, horrible person, because if they're not, I'm a monster. So therefore, they're all bad. So, yeah. Sorry, that went off on that one too. But Sarah, I do like what I do want to do this. I want to do more of it. So if you want me to do more of it, and I want to do more of it, click the like button then. That was a nice little transition, wasn't it? Thank you, Sarah, for that. So yes, click the button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. Please do so. If you have not shared this yet, please share it. Repost it. If you can subscribe on YouTube, please do so. If you have not, I don't know why you hate me, so please do so. Also follow me on Facebook, X, and Rumble, all of them. I appreciate all your super chats. Membership's important, please. I know I'm more lenient on AMAs, but generally speaking, during the normal weekly shows, I try to focus on members on their chats first. So please become a member, $49 per month. Click that join button on YouTube or on Rumble. Click the subscribe button, but only during the live. That's how that works on that. And if you are seeing this and it's not live, you're probably watching this on Larry Sharpe, which is fine, but all the cool stuff happens on Sharpe Way. So that would be cool if we could. So yes. All righty. DeMonte Hester says 99% of the tax code is on how not to pay taxes. Correct. That is correct. Yes, absolutely. Michael says, did Trump win AOC's district? I think I said that he did not. Trump did very well in AOC's district compared to last time. Another thing you found is Trump, it wasn't that New Yorkers all of a sudden loved Republicans. That wasn't a thing. New Yorkers relatively wanted Trump. New Yorkers as a whole still don't like Republicans. 6-1 in New York City, 3-1 across the state. They still don't like Republicans, but they wanted Trump. And not because they liked him, Michael. Again, a lot of people I know who voted for Trump do not like Trump. If you ask them, they go, I don't like him. They don't like him, but they voted for him because they said change is more important. To your point, they would rather have the benevolent dictator than dysfunctional bureaucracy. So they will tell you, I don't like him. A lot of people don't like him. Voted for him. Because they were like, I want something to change. I don't care how it works. Grace says, will Milei be impeached? I say no. Now, will they try? Yes. I think no. They will try because the Peronists in Argentina know that he's being overall successful. And they want to get rid of him and change. They want to go back to the old ways of grift. And that's Argentina is the grift capital, I think, of the world. I can't think of anything. I mean, they've gone under how many times? How many times they've defaulted? 8? Some crazy number. And they want to go back to that. They're totally happy with that. They all make money on that. They want to keep doing that. So they will try. But he's still popular. And I know people don't like cults of personality, but when it comes to change like this, it's the only way. There's no other way. I wish there was. We can see it with Trump. Trump's cult of personality. Now we're getting change. Malay's cult of personality. Now they're getting change. Without it, Argentina defaulted on its loans 8 times. And I think 25 years, I think, in that area, something like that. 8 times. You're defaulting 8 times. If you can't figure out you need help, you can't. So why didn't the system change? Because you didn't have a cult of personality. Malay cult of personality. Now you get change. Trump cult of personality. Now you get change. I know that sucks. I'm aware that Daniel's probably mad right now because he doesn't like it either. I don't either. I don't see another answer. The systems don't change without it. It's how it works. I say the same thing all the time. People say, how do we change things? Right? How do we change things? It requires executives. Sarah asked, how do we change things? Executives. What do I mean by that? Mayors, governors, presidents. It's why that's all I run for. I run for executive positions. You don't see me running for Congress. I don't do anything. You don't see me running for city council. I don't do anything. I'll run for mayor. I'll run for governor. I'll run for president. I run for, or lieutenant governor or vice president. I run for executives. That's what I do. So, yes. Phil says, Great Britain has more horses than tanks right now. Yes, I actually do know that. I guess you're about how, yeah. And it's because of ceremonial issues. They have a lot of ceremonial stuff right now. And their tanks, the tank has been questionable for decades, right? Is it still valuable? Is it not valuable? And we're finding right now that it is less valuable than we thought. And the Brits have believed that for a long time. So most European countries have been shutting down their tank systems for a long time. Germans don't have any tanks either. I don't think the Germans have as many horses because they don't have this much ceremony. When it comes to ceremony, the Brits are awesome at ceremony. I mean, they rock it when it comes to ceremony. There's no doubt. They got the king doing this and the prince doing that, and the queen doing this. They're amazing, right? So They're great at that. So yes, they do have more horses than tanks, but hardly any. I mean, the Russians are obviously lots of tanks, but the Russians are figuring out that tanks aren't as important as infantry fighting vehicles. And for those on a difference, a tank is literally a massive cannon platform, right? But an infantry fighting vehicle is a vehicle that gets troops to the front without them getting machine gunned or blown up. That is far more important now, which we didn't think that, right? We had been moving towards tanks and not as many infantry fighting vehicles. Now that's everything. Infantry fighting vehicles are huge, and so are and motorcycles. Believe it or not, motorcycles and infantry fighting vehicles. So but Britain doesn't have any of those either. So Britain has a very small army. It's tiny now. Their navy's tiny too. So hold on, Phil goes on to say the British Navy has more admirals than combat ships. Yes, because their ships. Britain is, as I said, Britain's not going as a nation. Britain is failing. Germany's becoming stagnant. Japan's been stagnant for decades. China is becoming stagnant. Britain is failing. It's not becoming stagnant. It is failing. It is a failed state. It is absolutely failing. There's no doubt. It is absolutely collapsing. And it's their fault. They could not recover from the loss of their empire. World War II destroyed them. Right? That was the end of the World War II destroyed them. And then from then it's just going downhill. Absolutely. So yes. All righty. Phil says 100,000 people died of drug overdose in a year during the pandemic. Well, there we go. Yes. There we go. Patty says history shows it repeats itself over and over again. Yes, I believe we are a year away from it. I don't at all. I don't think. Okay, to be clear, Patty, let me be clear. Are we still ignoring our problems so that people are dying? Yes. Are we a year away from physically building camps and putting whatever minority of choice of the day in the camps and systematically killing them? I can't see it. We'll talk next year. We'll see if I'm right or I'm wrong. I don't see it. I don't see one of the reasons why, Patty, believe it or not, is the Second Amendment. All right. So now you decide you're going to put insert minority here, trans people, Mexicans, whatever is the Muslims, whatever Jews, whatever is the decided bad guy of America, right? Whatever we decide. I'm going to put those people into camps. There's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to be okay with that. And when that happens, there's going to be violence. And what we've learned is at one point, the government backs down. It does not want violence. Nobody, me included, wants dead law enforcement. Nobody's helped by that. That never goes over well. It never ends well. It always gets worse. No. So I don't think so. That's just my view. We'll see. Patty goes on to say, they're already killing us with poverty, drugs, over medication, subpar food. They're already killing us. Okay. Ghetto slums already count. Okay. All right. If you walk down that road, then that's been true for decades. I think you're right. I'm saying it's Trump building the camps because he's a fascist, right? That's the thing I'm saying is not happening. But if you're saying our system has been putting people into these slums and killing people with over-medication, yes, I mean, that's obvious. Yes, I think you're right. There, I agree completely with you. That's grossly obvious. Of course, I see it in the cities. I see it in the suburbs. Not as much, but I do see it in suburbs too. But I definitely see it in rural areas. Yes, I think you're right. I don't think that's not a Trump thing. That's kind of been an American thing since Nixon. Maybe. I feel that maybe in that era, maybe Nixon. Been happening. War on drugs, war on poverty. The war on drugs, war on poverty is what made everything worse. Whenever America puts a war on something, it gets there's more of it. There's more of it. That's how it works. Because the government creates an industrial complex around it, right? In New York State, we have the homeless industrial complex because the one homelessness makes more homelessness because you create an industrial complex. We have migrant problem. Do we fix the migrants? No. We make it a migrant industrial complex because there's more of them, right? So we just keep doing it. So yeah, I think that's where I would go. All right. Phil says, cool Joe Cool Obama. He was cool. It was slick. I mean, again, if you don't like Obama, I get it, but it doesn't mean he's not slick. He's still slick. That's it. Michael says, Slick Willie to Smooth the Rock to Sleepy Joe. Yes. You're right. You are right. Agreed. Yeah, 100%. So, all righty. I'll grab a couple more of these. Democrats aren't sending their best. I think they are, Phil. I think they are. They don't, I mean, that's who they got. The people who are actually savvy, they don't want to be Democrats. They don't want to be part of the party anymore. So, yeah. Andrew says they've essentially capitulated. But they do still shame. I guess that's something. I guess that's something. They still do shaming. So, yeah. So, Phil says Don Jr. is more of the gun guy. Correct. Don Jr. is a huge Second Amendment supporter. You are correct, Phil. But Don Sr. doesn't care. It's not his thing. He does not care about it at all. It's not his thing. Yes. So Morgan says RFK does want to send people to wellness camps for substitute. Okay, I'm just saying. He didn't say he wants to send them. He says he wants them to be available. It's actually a smart move. That's all I'm saying. Yes. Gene says, my grandmother's family who stayed in Germany were sent to these work camps. Most of them did not survive. Yes. If my grandmother's dad weren't a draft dodger who came to America at the start of World War I would like him to be born. Yes. There's a story in my family where my grandfather was an officer in the Wehrmacht, and he refused to shoot prisoners. That's the story. Who were these prisoners? He refused. And they went, oh, you're not going to do what we tell you to do? Great. Russian front. Yes. He went to the Russian front. Russian front. He was captured in 1944. Didn't get out until 1948. Didn't make that number up. That's true. When he came back, he had spent 4 years in a prison camp with literally no medical help whatsoever, none. When he came back, he survived a couple of months and died. My mom was 3 or 4. 4. My mom was 4. Yes, my mom was 4. He literally, his last hurrah with his wife, then he went to the Russian front and did not come back. My mom was 4 when he died. So yes, that was what you got if you said no. That's what you said if you said no. So I understand that completely. Your family went to the camps. Mine went to the Russian front. And that was theirs. Uncle also went to the Russian front. Same thing. Said no, went to the Russian front. He went to the Russian front. When he came back, he, again, had literally no medical care. He had shrapnel, which is what shrapnel is pieces from either artillery or from grenades that get stuck in your body. He had so much of it in his body that at one point he was walking on the street, shrapnel went to his heart attack, and died. It was floating in his body for years. Finally hit the right spot, drops dead. Yeah. So I get it, Gene. I get it. Daniel says, why is it different from FDR Japanese camps? It isn't. I think it isn't. And I don't think we'll do that again. I don't see us doing that. I guess this is my same concept with Patty. I don't see it happening. I don't see us doing it. You're right. That was terrible. I'm not an FDR fan. I mean, I think FDR was one of our worst presidents ever. And I know people who are on the left hate when I say that, but he's one of the worst ever. So many of our problems now is because of that. So yeah, I completely agree. Phil says, Larry's intolerant of carbs. Kinda. So yes. Colby says, my only drug is chocolate. Not a bad drug. I mean, if you're going to have a drug, not a bad one, right? This is not a bad choice, my friend. Not a bad choice. All right. Let's see if I can put more of these. James says, you should look up raw milk recipes. That's interesting. There we go. Phil says, I have trans friends too. I'm a conservative Christian, but they are not. We have good conversations. She's pretty conservative otherwise. There we go. Yeah. Look, that's the whole point. You can actually think, and I know people who are very conservative who think trans is not a thing. Not a thing. Doesn't mean they want to hurt them or stop them or anything. They just don't think it's a thing, right? Clearly, I don't think that, but people do. As long as you're not trying to hurt people or do something or stop them or, what do you care? Jean says, I have a friend who thinks that people want to kill her child. She said she didn't mean me. I'm a libertarian, so she understands that I'm live and let live. She used to believe the lies told about libertarians, but she knows better now because we're still friends. Oh, Jean, thank you. Yes. Yes. IC says, I hope the refund doesn't happen. It sets a dangerous precedent when extra money is available. Pay down the debt. Oh, I see. But I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is he has a chance to write a stimmy check. He's writing that check. He's writing that check. That's for sure. He is writing that check. Yes. Joel says, be warned, if you cast that check, you're a Trump supporter. To avoid that, sign your check to me, DM me for address. That, you know what? Because you care, Joel. I feel the love. See? So don't, you know what I see? When you get your check, don't cash it. Joel's right. Send it to Joel or to me, either one of us. We care. Can you feel the love? We care. We want to make sure that you don't get in trouble. So send us a check and we'll take care of it. There we go. Yes. Phil says, I think I was like 140. School was too easy. I never worked hard enough in school. All engine, no drive shaft. That's funny. I like that one. All engine. Yes, I love that. I love that. Yeah. Liberty Lady. Is there an IQ test you recommend, Larry? A certain website. Go to Mensa. Mensa is the place to go. Mensa is the society for genius. It's a genius society. So go to Mensa. Anything Mensa. Mensa. Whatever. Look for Mensa. They will always have the best tests. I've taken many of them. Yes. So yes, 100% go to Mensa. That is the answer. MENSA. I considered joining, but I decided not to because it had no value. I don't like being around people who are like me. I want to be around people who are not like me. So there we go. So yeah. All righty. So, oh, Pinkerbell is here. I didn't realize you were here, Pinkerbell. I'm glad. It's been a while. I'm glad you're here. Very nice. There we go. Well, welcome. Welcome back. There we go. All right. Phil says SpaceX is ICBM tech. That is accurate. That is accurate. Yes. Let me grab another one. Daniel, thank you for the $5. How do you explain to a normie that ending the war on drugs would at least reduce the strangle the cartels have? Yes. Here's how you explain it. The black market is what creates violence. So right now, alcohol, also a drug, if you want to sell more vodka or more beer, you don't have violence over it. You have a marketing plan, or you find more distributors, or you spend more time at the clubs promoting it, right? That kind of thing. If you have two liquor stores on the same street, they don't shoot each other. Instead, what they do is one has to be a better one or the other, or one goes under and moves someplace else. That's how that works. The same things would happen with drug cartels. Drug cartels have to function in a regular world, which means less violence, right? Once it happens, there's no need for gang violence anymore. There aren't gang violence against alcohol. A lot of them would be. There was. When we had prohibition, when alcohol was in the black market, like drugs are now, we literally had alcohol gangs. That's what we had. And when it comes to violence, the most violent period for American law enforcement, without question, was literally during Prohibition. More police officers and law enforcement agents were killed during that time by percentage than any other time in American history. I'm not making that up. Do your own homework, how it worked. And when did it stop? Literally right after Prohibition ended. It just stopped. The violence did that. It stopped. We have evidence of that working here in America now. We have evidence of it. That's what happened. So, end the war on drugs. It doesn't mean all of a sudden everyone starts doing drugs. It means the violence goes away. You will still have a drug problem. The drug problem doesn't go away either, right? Alcohol problems didn't go away. The violence went away. So let's end the war on drugs and start helping addicts. All the money we spend on the war on drugs, let's spend on helping addicts. The problem doesn't go away. The violence does. And the waste of money goes away. Here's the problem. The war on drugs is a drug industrial complex. As I always say, it is the prison industrial complex. That's what it is. The prison industrial complex is from the war on drugs. That's my whole point. You make a war on drugs, you create an industrial complex. Why would you ever stop it? Hope that was helpful, Daniel. So, all righty. Let me go down here if I could. Shin says, Larry, what should we do about undocumented immigrants that are broken laws, but who have school-aged children that have known the U.S. as their home for their entire lives? Oh, okay. Are you saying broken the law like they've done a crime, or they've broken the law because they're undocumented. I want to be clear the difference. If it is because they're undocumented, I don't care. If they actually broke a law, they got to pay the price. That's how it works. I'm not trying to be mean, but they're not special. And to be forward, my mother was a felon, and I pay a high price when my mom went to jail. I was her kid. If your parents do commit a crime, then the kids pay the price. I know it sucks. I'm not trying to be flippant on this, but that's how it works, right? And I'll give you a perfect example of someone who was on my show 2 years ago, Dexter Taylor. Dexter Taylor did nothing wrong, went to jail, is in prison right now, his teenage daughter. She's paying the price for that. She no longer has a father. Now, I don't think he should be in jail, but he did break a law, a BS law that New York made up. That's not really a law, but that's not a crime. So it is a law. It's not a crime, but it's a law, but not a crime. But so, yeah. So no, if they're breaking laws, if they're harming people, creating victims, it's terrible, but the kids pay. And if the person makes if the guy is robbing people or whatever, I'm assuming you're saying breaking the law, so I'm assuming that's what you're saying. If he robs somebody and you deport him, the kid's gone. Your parents screwed up, kid. You're paying the price for that. Be a better parent. I know it sounds crappy, but they don't. If I break a law, they don't go, oh, well, Larry's got kids in school, so we're not going to put him in jail. No, they don't. They put my ass right in jail. They don't care. My kid can't go to school anymore, or my kid has to go into the system, or my kid has to, become a foster pet. They just do it. They don't care. Why is the undocumented immigrant any better or worse than me? Same thing. Don't mean to be mean. I'm just saying they get the same thing. So, yes. She says, Larry, do you think we need to weaken the presidency? It seems that you are adamant that strong executives are what we need, but honestly, Congress should take back more control, in my opinion. Yes and no. Let me cover both of these. This is my problem, and I'm admitting it is a problem because the system is so broken, and because Congress does nothing of value at all. The president has to be strong because our judges don't do anything either. They're not proactive. So judges are not proactive, right? They say things where you have to have standing. So our judges are so bad. I'm not making this up. If all of a sudden New York State said slavery was legal again, just said it was legal again. Obviously it's not because of the Constitution, but New York State said slavery is legal. And then someone says, well, judge, you have to make this law, you have to make this law unconstitutional. Judges would do nothing. We said, no, someone has to say something. It has to be a problem. We have to have someone have some harm. What? Okay, I'm going to sue. I'm Larry Sharpe. I'm going to sue. They would say, are you a slave? No. Well, then you're not harmed. So the law stands. Okay, so now I'm going to get myself enslaved. So now I'm enslaved now. Okay, can I sue? You can't sue. You're a slave. What? You can't sue. You're a slave. Yeah, but you just said that what? That's how New York judges would do it. If they made slavery legal in New York State, slavery would stay legal because judges will not be proactive. It doesn't happen. Judges are not proactive. They never are. They aren't proactive. Our Congress people are weak. Most of them are idiots and they're chimps, and they make terrible laws. So without executives, we have nothing. Most of our executives don't do anything either. So I don't like that we are there. I don't want a strong presidency. I don't want a strong governor. I don't want any of that stuff. But I'm going back to earlier what Michael was talking about. I got to get a benevolent dictator or a dysfunctional bureaucracy. If Congress would take back its power, I'm on your side, Jen. I think you're right. That's what we should do. That should be the answer. If we can get that to happen, I'm in. But the country's in a bad spot. It's got to change. I would rather go as you've heard me say here, what Trump is doing is not the best way of doing things. It isn't. But right now, the only one we got. And that sucks. So, yes. Liberty Lady says, why am I not surprised that they're trying to impeach Milei? Of course, they want to get rid of him. If I was the establishment, I would too. Of course I would. Yes. So, all righty. Let's see if I can grab here a couple more. Patty says, Larry, we had the Second Amendment and put Japanese Americans in camps. Yes, no, you're right. I'm agreeing with you. I don't see it happening. right? The other issue we have is, in that case, you would have to have a situation to where the people were so, maybe the, I don't know if it's the right word, ghettoized, right? In the case of Japan, for those who don't know, in the case of Japan, it's a very special case. If you know, we didn't do it to the Germans or to the Italians. We only did the Japanese. Now, we were at war with the Japanese, war with the Italians, war with the Germans. We did not do it to the Japanese, the Germans, or the Italians. We did not. We also did not do it to, by the way, we also went to war Bulgaria, Romania, and Hungary. We didn't do it to Romanians. We didn't do it to Hungarians. We didn't do it to Bulgarians. None of them. We only did the Japanese. Why? Several reasons. Number one, we had been having anti-Japanese laws for about 15 years. FDR hated Asians. He was a blatant racist. I don't mean that in bad, hated Japanese. He hated the Japanese. Blatant racist in that regard. Hated them. And had so many laws against them. They couldn't integrate. They couldn't come to America. Immigration problems. All kind of issues he had with Japanese. So that was already happening, number one. Number two, they were all ghettoized because of that. So they were all in very simple areas. It was easy to grab them. Number two, next piece. And on top of that now, they looked physically different, right? They looked physically different than others. Yes. How do you do that to Germans? How do you do it to Italians? Right? It was easy to do it with the Japanese. It was, I'm just being very forward here. There was already a culture against the Japanese in the 1930s, 1940s in America. That's the reason why I am not validating, I am explaining. The reason why the Japanese bombed us in Pearl Harbor was because we wouldn't trade oil with them. We wouldn't let them become colonized like we were. We did everything we could to punish the Japanese. Well, they thought was their only chance. They thought we were going to go to war anyway. They thought we went to war with them. I'm not making that up. That's true. So then we already were anti-Japanese already. So it was easy. Do we have that now? And most people, you people here on this show, know that happened. I would ask you, do you think in Germany, which is why I said they will not go 51% AFD, do you think in Germany now they would reinstate the camps? I can't see it. They did it. They were worse than we were, obviously. At least we didn't systematically murder our Japanese. I mean, that's a low bar, but we did make it over that bar, even though it's a low one. We didn't systematically murder our Japanese. They systematically murdered their Jews. We didn't do that. So would they do it again? I don't see it. I don't see us either. I just don't see it. Look, maybe I'll be wrong, but I really hope I'm right. I hope you're wrong, Patty. It would be terrible. If we did that, I would be embarrassed to be an American if we did that again. Like, okay, once is enough. Like, you can learn your lesson once. You don't got to do it again. If we did, I'd be embarrassed. I hope I'm right, and I hope you're wrong. That's what I would say. So, Danny, thank you for the $5, my friend. Was Cheney calling the shots in George W.'s term? If so, was Elon Trump's Cheney? Technocracy. Cheney was very powerful in George W. Bush's term, so he called many of the shots, probably not all of them, many of them. Elon is not Trump's Cheney. What Trump has done better this time than most have done is Trump has divvied up stuff. Elon, go do that. Right? Rubio, go do that. Right? That kind of thing. He's telling people to go do things. He is spending far more time on what he knows he's figured out now, which is difficult, which again, most people didn't know. I say it all the time. I was following the Ukraine war deeply for a long time. I saw how much cash was involved in that war. And I'm like, you ain't stopping that thing tomorrow. There's way too much money in that war. You are not stopping that thing. He's like 24 hours. I'm like, no way. Far too much money in that war. So much grift in the Ukrainian war. So much. There is no way anyone stops that war in 24 hours. Way too much money. And to be forward, I honestly think he did not know that. I'm not joking. I think he just thought, no, it can't be that bad. Oh, no. It's that bad. Yes. Why do you think now he's talking about mineral rights. People talking about that before. He runs the cash. Remember, I tell you all the time, the military-industrial complex. I'm glad you brought this up. This actually goes to what I've been talking about. The military-industrial complex doesn't care how it makes money. It just wants to make money. It doesn't care how. If it bombs people, fine. If it doesn't bomb people, fine. It doesn't care. It's not mean. It doesn't want to kill people. It just doesn't care. If people die, whatever. I need my cash. So Trump's like, okay, I get out of this war, but they got to make money. I don't want to kill people. I'll give these guys minerals. They'll go in and they'll use the contractors, take the minerals out. They'll still make cash. Nobody dies. Win-win. And you might say to yourself, Larry, that's horrible. The military-industrial complex, as I've told many of you, and you tease me when I say it, we just got to end it. To hell with them. They will put you in a box. If you want to, you can ask RFK. Oh, you can't. He's in a box. You can ask JFK. Oh, you can't. He's in a box. Yeah, they will put you in a box. So you have to do other stuff so they can keep making their money. That may sound horrible, but I would rather not virtue signal, and I'd rather Ukrainians and Russians not die. I would like wars to end. So if it takes mineral rights, fine. Remember my plan was to give them a timed monopolies in new markets, which is utterly not libertarian. I'm not even saying it's not libertarian. But it's that, or they keep fighting the military-industrial complex, or I go in a box. Those are my three choices. Keep the military complex, I go in a box, or they get something. I thought monopolies, new markets. Trump thought mineral rights. Okay. Whichever. I like mine better because mine goes away. His doesn't. But I know, maybe that was 5 years? Whatever it was. So yeah, same concept, right? I know some of you think I'm exaggerating when I say these things. If I don't know it and it's my feeling, I tell you that. I feel, I think, but when I know, I tell you, this is real. There's a lot of grift in the Ukraine. I'm talking hundreds of billions of dollars of grift. You can't end it like that. It's just not going to happen. You go in a box. That's how it works. Again, I don't mean to be crazy. That's how it works. That's how it works. That's all. So, all righty. All right, let's see if I can go down here. Daniel says, Larry, you should do a history show. I did one. The history of the world 2 months ago. Yeah, that literally says, yes, I think I did one. Yeah. And it was long. 4 hours? I can do more. I mean, if I want to, but it's crazy. Yeah. Phil says, it's wild talking to the Japanese. They were liberating Asia from European imperialism and building a strong Asia. We were blockading Japan. Yes, according to they started, see if I get the name right. It was the Greater East Asian Co-Prosperity Sphere. That is what they called it. Yes, it is the Greater East Asian Co-Prosperity Sphere, which they were building. And we said, no, you don't do that. Why? Because you're Japanese? No, that was our reason. And we wonder why they bombed us. That's why. So yes, absolutely. So MW Knox says 46 years of occupation killed German national pride. AfD surging as younger people who grew up in modern Germany are entering politics. Accurate statement. I think that's true. A lot of, there's literally, songs about Deutsche Stolz, trying to get people to be more proud to be German. I think it's true. That's one of the things that's why when Elon Musk went over there, he talked about it. I have a flag every day. America's on top. It's my father's flag. I'm an American first, always. But I have German ancestry. I do. So yes. So absolutely. So all righty. Phil, thank you for $2. How difficult is a Chrissy mayor governor run? I never asked her. I guess I could. She lives in New York. She lives in Westchester. So I guess she could run. I could ask her. Do you want her to be my running mate? So yes, maybe. I don't know. Maybe her and I could do that. Maybe. So, all right. Let's see if I can grab a couple more of these. Adrian says, I expected crazy for confirmation hearings, but the Twitter files hearing on the Dem side was shameful. We need real lawmakers. They are not that. You're right, Adrian. They are not that. They are not that. Gene says a group of baboons is called a Congress. Some days, Gene, I'd rather have baboons. That's all I'm saying, right? Some days I'd rather have that. Yes, 100%. I'd rather have baboons, 100%. So, all righty, let's see here. Shinad says, Larry, are you of the opinion that the Constitution is an aristocratic document and a betrayal of the original ideals of the American Revolution? Did I ever say that? That seems odd. Are you of the opinion? I don't know where that comes from. Is that a common thing? I'm not sure where that is. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sarah says, I thought that was normal belief. Yikes, it's not. It is not. Yes, it is. It is not. Yes. It is not at all. Yeah, 100% not at all. Yeah. All righty. See if I can grab a couple more. All right. Maybe they're hiding their gems. Do you mean, did you mean the Ukrainians? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't really know. So, all right, let's see here. K. John says, Cheney called the shots with his hunting buddy for sure. That's true. I think it's accurate. Guys, I want to ask you one more time, if we could, please click the button known as like Lima India Kilo Echo. It does matter. If you haven't shared or reposted this, please do so. Subscribe and follow. I know I ask all the time, because if you don't do it, you know who loves it? Mr. Rhythm, Al Gore. Rhythm. He loves it. Please do it so that I can get this out to more people. Every single time it gets out to more people grow. It's better. I give you a lot of AMAs because I know you guys care about this. It matters. You guys like it. I like it too. I get triggered sometimes, but it's okay. You know who I am. You get to know the real me, and that's what matters more than anything. I hope it's a good community. I'll let you guys go. I will be back on tomorrow. Again, I know I'm doing all these shows in a row. Why? Because I was out for so many shows last week. I'll do another show next week. Please, when we're done, please, when we're done, this is over, please put in the chat your most interesting time period for history. And I will see if I can answer some of those in the coming days. Like, you think this time period, that time period, a historical time period that you find it's interesting. I will see you all very soon.